Hello, my chickadees. How are you? It is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. We're gonna go ahead and get started. We are again, remember guys, I told you that all week we are working on author's purpose, right? Because author's purpose, even though it seems easy, it could be a little difficult or tricky. So we're gonna be working on that this entire week. Okay, so yesterday we learned the three types of author's purpose. Today we are going to review that just so that you can get it stitched in your mind. I know some people were a little confused yesterday on the exit ticket, so I wanted to continue going over this so that we can really get it, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about, we're going to be identifying the author's purpose in like a whole passage or a whole text. So we have to be able to define it now so that we'll be able to do it tomorrow. So here's a time in the lesson where we start off with our PDN. You already know what to do. If you've done your PDN already, you can go ahead and continue along with me. Or if you have not done your PDN, you can pause the video right now and do it and then come back. So let's go ahead and begin. Oh my goodness, that was so rude. I'm so sorry, y'all. But let's go ahead and begin. I am not going to read the whole passage. You should have read it on your own. I'm just going to go straight to the questions. So, first question, how might the speaker feel on his way to Dr. Smiley's office? So first of all, guys, in order to know how the speaker is feeling, right? Feeling, that means that you have to think about the still, right? Think about what the speaker is saying, what the speaker is thinking, what the speaker is, the emotional effects on others, what the speaker is doing, or how the speaker looks, right? So when I go back to the beginning of my text, it actually says, some kids are scared to go to the dentist, but not me. This is what the speaker is thinking, right? He's thinking in his head that, okay, some kids are scared to go to the dentist, but not me. He says, I have a funny dentist. So this right here, I'm sorry guys, I'm losing control with this little marker thing. This thing right here, this evidence tells us how the speaker may be feeling, and we can make the inference that the speaker is excited, right? Because of course he says he's not scared, right? He's not bored because he has a funny dentist. And of course he's not annoyed. So he must always be excited to go to the dentist because he has a very funny dentist. Okay. So now let's continue with part A. Which word best describes Dr. Smiley? So again, we have to describe Dr. Smiley. This is a character trait. So again, we have to use our still method, speaking, thinking, act, what is he doing, how is he looking, right? So when I go in the text, first of all, it describes Dr. Smiley as funny, right? And then again, his name is Dr. Smiley, right? It says, I don't think that's his real name, but that's what he tells all the kids who comes to see him, right? So all of these things are describing Dr. Smiley. He has a cool waiting room. He has games. He has toys. But what is describing him as a person? He always wears funny hats. He sometimes has his face painted, right? All of these are describing him. He asks funny questions like, are you married yet, right? And do you eat flowers to make your breath smell so sweet? All of these things are things that makes the author laugh, right? And it's describing the type of person that Dr. Smiley is. So to me, he must be like extremely funny, right? Another word for funny, of course, would be hilarious, right? He's a hilarious person, and we can eliminate the rest of these. But what evidence actually supports the fact that he's hilarious? When you look at these pieces of evidence, which one actually talks about Dr. Smiley? This, it says it has video games and a big toy box. Some kids are scared to go to the dentist, but not me. That's actually describing the author, right? Or the narrator. It didn't hurt at all. That's describing the actual procedure. And then it's between A and D. I'm going to eliminate A because that's actually describing the waiting room. It's not describing Dr. Smiley himself. D would be the correct piece of evidence because him having his face painted describes Dr. Smiley himself. Okay? So if you guys had all of that, then you were correct. Let's go ahead and move on with our vocabulary. So guys, you know that we're still working on finding new roots this week. We've been talking about Greek and Latin roots, right? We know that a root word is a word that does not have a prefix or a suffix added. And when we think about root words, sometimes they come from different languages. We talked about this yesterday, and they help us find the meaning of new words. Today we're talking about the Latin or Greek root sub, right? And then the root word way. So this would be the Latin root. And then way is a root word. And so sub actually means under, right? And then way, of course, is a path to get from one place to another. Okay? So when you put both of those roots together, it creates the word subway, right? And when you think of subway, it creates a new definition. So subway is definitely a path taken underneath the ground to get from one place to another. Okay. Okay, good. Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and create a sentence. You could use my sentence or you could make your own sentence. Miss Curry took the subway when she visited New York City. Because we have trains, guys, and sometimes our trains do go underneath a subway, but New York City, their trains are often like all under. They're all subways, right? Okay, good. So when you think of a subway, a synonym, of course, would be train, right? Or antonym, of course, would be bus or car, right? Okay, cool. Now, let's continue. I want you to think about, how do you know that this image is a subway? When I look at the image, I see that, of course, it's a path that they're taking to get from one place to another, and it's underneath the ground. So that's how I know that this is a subway. Okay? Because it is a path taken to get from one place to another, and it is located underground. Okay? All right, good. So let's go ahead and continue to our board equals paper. So yesterday we learned about author's purpose, and we know that the author's purpose is the reason an author writes a particular text. And remember, we talked about those juicy, big fat slices of pie, right? Author's purpose, 3 main reasons why an author writes a text is to persuade, to inform, or to entertain. And I'm going pretty fast because we talked about this yesterday. So this is basically just review. Okay? And we know that it spells out the word pie. So persuade, let's remind ourselves what we talked about yesterday, is when an author tries to get the reader to think or do something, right? And then the text clues, of course, would be things like you. That's the #1 text clue because they're talking to us as the reader, trying to get us to do something. should try this or do this, right? Cool. And so when we think of persuasion, we think of like the examples or the genres. And so remember we said things like commercials, like advertisements, right? Okay. Yeah, so commercials, advertisements, right? We also think of like when you see like billboards. I know that was one that we didn't discuss yesterday. And then also like opinion text. And then reviews, like if you have a review of a product. Okay, good. So let's move on to inform. An author, when we are informing, when the author is informing us, an author is giving us information. And it also gives us true facts about a topic. Remember, we changed this to topic, right? And then the text clues, of course, would be real facts. We have our topic, right? We may have dates. We may have times, right? All of these things will be included in an informational text. And we know that the examples or genres, of course, would be nonfiction text, right? We have articles, news articles that give us real information. We have biographies that give us real information, right? Good. And so now when we talk about the last slice of juicy pie, we talk about entertainment, which is the stories that we love to read that make us laugh and make us feel good. Is when an author writes fictional stories to give the reader something to enjoy or to laugh at, right? And the text clues are simple. We will have characters and we have story elements, right? And then the examples or genres, of course, would be fictional text, novels, or storybooks, right? And we know that pie is what we think about when we think of the author's purpose, right? Persuade, inform, entertain. Good. So let's go ahead and move on. So now, guys, we're actually going to do the model and the guided practice together. We have a longer, like every time we read, we're going to have longer and longer passages so that we can eventually think about the author's purpose of an entire text or an entire passage. So let's go ahead and use my handy dandy little marker. So when we read this, the title is computer games, right? It says, are you, the first word I see is you, and I'm going to circle that. Are you looking for, actually, we don't need to circle, we could just underline, an exciting computer game that is also educational? So it says an exciting computer game. I know that this may be a product that they're trying to get me to look at. Mammal Software has 4 new games that will knock your socks off, right? Space Pirates lets you zoom through the galaxy on your own spaceship, right? You constantly saying the word you will search for treasure, capture aliens, and learn science along the way. In Crazy Cooking, you make up the recipes, right? Serve the meals from your own video kitchen. At the same time, you will learn math skills by working with whole numbers, fractions, and measurements. So they're telling us all of the good things that this actual computer software game does. It says in the time machine lets you go back to any period in history to see what it was like and find the facts you need to know. You can meet George Washington, sail with Columbus, or even visit cave people. WordSearch takes you on a voyage through the English language, where it began, who invented it, and how it was changed. On your voyage, you will learn new vocabulary and spelling skills. The video is going to cut off now.